And we're live.
We are live. It's official.
It is official.
So it is Monday. It is a second cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Pili.
And this is your weekend recap. So let's get going. All right, so we are here. It is second cup of coffee, and it is our weekend recap. And we just had a dynamic interview with Doc G.
He's fantastic. His
podcast
is
the Earn and Invest podcast.
Yes.
So super good. That will be out in a few weeks. That was a lot of fun. We got to do it as a couple, although our youngest tried to revolt at the couple podcast, but we made it through. We powered through. We had a little sideline action where he just had to get some sleep time, but now we're back at it.
Babies, dogs, and we're good. We're good. We got it all handled.
So we had a full weekend. I did do my 100-mile race and got it completed with my beautiful wife and awesome team who just jumped in and made just made this weekend one not to forget. So not only did Pili and the kids just do everything, thank you so much. But I have to, of course, thank. We had a full list of people that jumped in. So we had Kevin McCormick, we had Eddie King that jumped on with me at 5 a.m. We had James Mazzolti jumped in about mile 50. Sonny Burns jumped in about mile 60. Greg Shea, mile 61. And Gabe Da Silva, mile 63 or so. And so here's what's cool, right? I did 100 miles. Great. But let's talk about the successes that everyone else did. I mean, you are amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully people who've been watching the show know how amazing you are. But Kevin McCormick had not run over 12 or 13 miles, did about 15 on Saturday.
Awesome, Kevin.
Right? So push his limit. Eddie King is always pushing the narrative. He had done 10 and probably did work like 10 workouts after that. Then we had James Mazzolti, Sonny Burns, Gabe Da Silva, and Greg Shea, right? So James did he had run a 4 mile, and then last week he did his longest one.
His
was
first 50.
He did a 50K, which is a 30 mile.
Yep.
And then this week he was going to do 20 miles, but because I was ahead of time by an hour, he caught up with me at an odd time and actually jumped in there.
The story with James, though, it's really funny. He messaged me on Messenger, and I turned off my notification from Messenger years ago. So I check it, and I'm just like, he's like, I'm around. I'm going to run towards Trader Joe's. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, did you come to my house? He was like, yes. Did you knock? No. I'm like, why didn't you knock? Because you are going in the exact opposite direction, and Jason's already 10 miles in the other direction. Tell me where you are. I'll come pick you up, take you there. So I leave to go pick him up. He actually runs back to my house. We miss each other. Come back to my house, pick him up. I have Jason on the iPhone. I'm tracking him. We go into Kenilworth. I find Jason. I'm like, there he is. Go. He's like, go now. I'm like, go. Because Jason's going to run. I'm going to have to catch up with him. So it was really fun. James, you are awesome. Because he was going to run, I think,
20 miles.
20, but he ended up doing 33.
He ended up doing 33, but if you count the two that are off page, he actually did 35 miles that day, which is longest time and longest distance. And he had Sonny Burns, who I did a marathon with Sonny last month, but he has not run. He had ACL surgery in between and had done 6 miles as the longest one. And he was just the day before on vacation in Cancun with his family. So he literally got off the plane, came, met us in the middle, dropped his car on the side of a road over in 2 towns over, and just started running with us. And he was going to do about 6 miles, ends up doing about 22 miles, right? Pushes the narrative there. And then Gabe Da Silva comes out. We had done a long run before, and he pushes them and got to 13 miles a couple of weeks ago and jumped in and said, I'm going to try for 20, and ended up crushing out about 22 miles as well. So we had all these people, and then Greg Shea, him and I run into each other all the time when I'm out there running, and he jumped on, did about 10 miles. And so all these people pushed the narrative and pushed the limit, and it just made the race so much more rewarding because of just having so many other accomplishments there. And it's never easy, but it was easy to do when you're watching so many other people push their boundaries and push their limits. And that's just, it's dynamic, right? Because the energy I felt going through there, it was definitely just so rewarding. And a few things after, so everybody stopped about mile 84. And then I went out into the night by myself, and I had this, it it was one of those like coming to Jesus moments where we had done a 20-mile loop was our plan, but the loop ended up being closer to 21 miles. So I had a little bit less than 20 miles to go. So I actually ended up going a different way, which I thought would help, so I didn't end up out in the abyss with about 5 miles left to go. But it actually just created a whole new series of things to solve, right? So one, it becomes that mental part where you're tired, and then it starts being cold. And again, I did something silly, is that I put on a jacket, but I really should have overdressed, because I ended up really just being cold to the bone, and I was frozen and just out there. And that's never a good place to be when you're running. So I couldn't get the warmth back. So we had to really dive in for those 3.5, 4 hours I was out there, whatever it was, 4 hours, just in the cold. And then I had to have my mind just create this new map. And what really bit me is I end up into running through this part where I get detoured, end up running through a parking lot. The other side of the parking lot was an 8-foot fence because they locked the gate. And I just didn't have the bandwidth to go back. So it was like that, like the Mandalorian, like, this is the way kind of message in my mind. So like, this is the way. So I ended up finding myself scaling this fence, and my shorts getting caught on the top of the fence. I thought I was going to be without shorts on the way home, but I did make it down. My feet were not really happy, but got through there. And then I ended up about 1.5 miles left, and I ended up right by the house. And it's that moment of, there's that warm house. But I had to turn back into the night, just turn back and just go get it done. So eventually about 1:57 a.m., right? 1:57 a.m. found myself on the road, my beautiful wife out there to welcome me home, and it was done. And it was on to the next. And with that, you look back and you just realize how many people just accomplished just really awesome things that day, right?
So much. And just, I mean, when you're in a race and with other people, this is one of the things I was not afraid of, but I was going to see how it was going to turn out, because it was just going to be Jason. It was just going to be him running, and he had asked some people to come join him. But having those guys join him gave it more of a community sense. Yeah, like everyone was pushing for the same goal, to push the envelope of where they were at and where they were going. And all the gentlemen that joined you pushed their envelopes. They didn't run 100 miles, but they took what they could do and pushed it even further.
But it was their 100-mile.
It was. That's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah. It's like everyone has a different 100-mile race in their heads. So whatever that 100-mile race that's in your head, if you think it's not accomplishable, then hey, maybe it's not. But if you think of that 100-mile race, once Jason was like, I'm going to run this 100 miles, in my head, it was like, okay, then it's done. It's done. It's done. Have it in your head and see that vision and see it as done, and it will be done.
So we all have our own hards. So don't compare hards against other hards, right?
Yes.
It's you going out there and testing your boundaries and pushing the narrative, right? So the cool thing is, because it was virtual, because it was home, we actually got to document it. So Bayes and Nerden filmed the entire thing. Well, not throughout, but really documented a ton of it. So we'll have that out in a few weeks. Be excited to put that video out. Just seeing about everything that comes through when you're putting in the work to get a race done. So pretty awesome.
It was a great weekend. I mean, we learned so much about just being there, getting it done as a family, and getting it done with our community of friends. So again, I can't express how much, and all those people on Facebook that were just rooting you on and rooting us on, and just coming together to get this goal done. I mean, it was a fantastic thing to see the support that we got from all of our friends and all of our community members.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. All right. So this is Second Cup of Coffee. We will be back tomorrow with our lessons going on for the week. Everyone push your limits. Keep testing yourself. Keep changing up the narrative. We will see you